Back to school is busy enough. The last thing you need is shopping that makes it harder. Whether you're moving into a dorm, your first apartment, or just getting organized for the semester, Wayfair makes it easy to get everything you need in one place. Furniture, bedding, storage, decor, study essentials, all at prices you'll love, with fast shipping before move-in day. Get everything you need for back-to-school season. Shop Wayfair.com today.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Every afternoon, there are 4 things you need to know about. They tend to happen after about 3 p.m. Eastern, and before you get home, you might as well learn about them before you hear it on the evening news. That's my job. I'm Eric Erickson. Tune in wherever your podcasts are available, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever. You'll get the 4 things to know in the afternoon. Search Eric Erickson or go to ericerickson.com/4 things to know for the links. Be more informed than your family and friends.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. I know I told you that I was going to talk about Mamdani, but I actually want to pivot because Stu Smith from the Manhattan Institute just put this video up. Stu Smith has been studying the left-wing movements of America. Yesterday, I talked about flock cameras. I got some emails. In fact, let me read you one of the emails that I got from down in Florida. I was a little surprised at your flock camera views. I also understand that they can help solve crimes and save people, but tattooing a serial number on everybody's arm and installing tracking devices in everybody that could be accessed anytime by police would make it so almost every crime could be solved and would nearly eliminate missing persons. This is an obvious overreach, and we wouldn't stand for that type of monitoring, but the flock cameras are also an overreach and a violation of our privacy. I live in Clay County, Florida, and my shop is in Jacksonville. Would love to give you some ice cream next time you're here. Buddy, I will come visit you. I see about 40 cameras I drive by every day going to my shop. In Clay County, the sheriff signed the contract with Flock with no notice or consent of the voters or even of the county commissioners. The reality for me is that every time I leave my house, my movements are being tracked. Think what this means for you if you had that level of camera in your town. You're a well-known figure with political views that not everybody agrees with. Do you want people to be able to track your every movement, find out where you drop your kids off at school, know what restaurant you take your wife to every Friday night? I mean, Brian, I got to tell you, if you listen to my show, my team will tell you, I tell everybody where that stuff is. But I see your point. What about the average Joe? Is it right that he has committed no crimes, but there's a log of where he's been, that he went to a cancer doctor, he visited a strip club or a gay bar, or where he went to a political rally or a shooting range or what church he goes to? I get the privacy concern. I really do. Also, I am totally coming to get ice cream from you. Stu Smith at the Manhattan Institute, he also recognizes the privacy concerns, but he also notes that the organized opposition to flock cameras that's now penetrated the public consciousness began with the Democratic Socialists of America and the prison abolition movement and the abolish the police movement. And he has a clip of Elaine Bryant from last night. This is perfectly timely. Elaine Bryant is the police chief of Columbus, Ohio.
And we have to make sure that we're putting measures in place to make sure that these tools are being used properly. That's any tool. That's not just flock. That's leads. That's our firearms that we carry daily. That's our mace. That's our taser. That's any tool that we have. Accountability, education, and transparency is important no matter what that tool is. And that's why it's important that we're having this conversation. I want to talk specifically about a few cases, and this is just a few cases that were affected specifically by flock. In June of 2024, an unoccupied vehicle was located near the scene of a double homicide. Detectives utilized flock to trace the vehicle's movement and develop leads, which led to identifying the person ultimately responsible and charges for murder and involuntary manslaughter. In April of 25, officers responded to the area of Champion Avenue and Reinhardt Avenue to a shooting where a 19-year-old male was fatally shot out of a robbery. Detectives used flock to corroborate 2 witness statements in identifying and locating a 15-year-old suspect. The suspects were taken into custody and charged with murder within 18 hours of the shooting. On May 9th, 2026, Columbus police responded to a homicide in the area of Malibu Drive and Cardinal Park. Upon arrival, it was determined that there was also a missing 3-year-old. Special victim detectives, along with homicide, began the Amber Alert process and received a flock notification for a vehicle involved. This ultimately led to the recovery of the 3-year-old and 3 arrests within several hours of the incident and a confession to homicide that was domestic related. On February 2026, there was a shooting that occurred at the MLK Library involving an individual from East High School. The community responded by assisting to keep all students safe and render aid as officers utilized flock to identify the vehicle location, ultimately leading to the surrender of the individual without further acts of violence. On March 22nd, 2026, Columbus police officers responded to the area of 1427 Oaklawn Park Avenue on a shooting. The suspect vehicle was identified utilizing flock, which traveled to Sandusky, Ohio. Columbus police detectives were able to recover the vehicle and suspect along with 3 firearms, leading to 2 attempted murder charges along with other weapon offenses. The bar was ultimately shut down by the city attorney's office due to the violence impacting the community. On April 25th, 2026, officers responded to a robbery at Aaron's Business Center located on Morris Road. 4 armed suspects forced 5 citizens and employees to the ground, assaulting one and stealing cell phones, money, and jewelry from the store. Through the investigative tool flock, the vehicle the suspects were using was identified with out-of-state tags and located, headed to Chicago. Charges have been filed for aggravated robbery against the suspect with additional charges pending. On March 8th, 2026, officers responded to the area of Champion and Winter Avenue on an abduction. A non-custodial parent assaulted the mother of his child with a firearm and fled, taking the child. Within 17 minutes, officers received flock hits, indicating the vehicle's direction of travel. Numerous law enforcement agencies responded, and the suspect was found in a wooded area a little over an hour into the incident. The child was recovered and unharmed. In May of 2026, detectives utilized flock to locate photos of a stolen vehicle believed to be used by several juvenile suspects who were also committing other thefts. Due to the investigative links, 3 juveniles were identified and charged with felony receiving stolen property. And again, we talk about the charges, the crimes, but let's talk about missing persons. On May 11th and June 11th of 2026, flock was utilized to locate 2 different elderly missing individuals. In May, a missing 88-year-old with dementia was located in London, Ohio, and in June, a missing 70-year-old with dementia was located in Dublin, Ohio. Each had a silver alert, and flock was used to locate the vehicles, enabling their safe recovery. These are just a few examples of how valuable flock has been in helping our investigators solve crime and bring answers and closures to families and their victims.
Now, look, again, I totally get the civil libertarian concerns. It kind of wigs me out to live in a place where there are cameras, although Flock is a private company. It's not the government, and the government must get permission. The government does not immediately get access to them, but I'm not as opposed to them as I once was, in large part because of the massive number of murders that have been solved, and also the number of missing people who have been found, particularly elderly people with dementia and kidnapped kids. A sheriff friend of mine texted me this morning and said, I listened to your segment about Flock cameras. Flock has most certainly revolutionized investigations and helped law enforcement solve crimes and, in my opinion, drive crime rates down. What I haven't heard or read in any of the articles is that when you hear these stories about the police being caught abusing Flock, these are agency-led audits. Flock created an audit tool that allows agencies to see if their employees are misusing the technology. Any new technology needs safeguards, especially when we're dealing with sensitive information, but agencies also need to hold their own people accountable, and that's exactly what's happening here. To me, this is what we should want in policing in America, law enforcement holding ourselves accountable, especially when it comes to sensitive information, and having the tools to identify and address misuse when it occurs. I heard from an assistant DA here in Georgia that says they would never have solved a murder case but for the Flock cameras. Again, I don't have the answer here. I don't. But I don't think banning them all is going to help. If anything, it's going to make it worse. And Stu Smith is right that if you trace the origins of the opposition to Flock cameras, they don't actually come from the civil libertarians. They come from the defund the police and abolish the prisons movement of the left. The Communist Party of the United States of America has a dedicated platform plank to ban flock cameras. The Democratic Socialists of America are dedicated to banning the flock cameras. And they're not banning the flock cameras for civil libertarians to protect your privacy. They don't care about your privacy. They care about defunding police and abolishing prisons. The chief of police, Elaine, Bryant in Columbus, Ohio, I played you the clip. Because of flock, they were able to identify suspects in a double homicide, arrest a 15-year-old murder suspect within 18 hours, recover a kidnapped 3-year-old and make 3 arrests within an hour, locate an armed shooting suspect who fled, track suspects in an armed robbery to Chicago, recovered an abducted child unharmed, and located 2 missing people with dementia, one of whom was a late teenage person with dementia, early rapid onset dementia. They were able to locate these people because of the flock cameras. I get completely the civil liberty concerns. I mean, Brian makes a good point. If the government said we can put a chip in you, but here's the thing: we do have the Constitution of the United States, and the Constitution of the United States does give you a right to privacy. And so the flock cameras are regulated. They can't just go in willy-nilly and look. And I think most people think that the police can just go in and track anybody they're interested in. And that's not the way they work. So I would encourage the flock people to be open and transparent about how they work and what they do. And I would encourage local governments to be open and transparent too. It's the same thing with the data centers. I'm not an anywhere and everywhere data center person. There are some places where they're not a good fit. There are some places that shouldn't have them. There are some communities that don't want them. And if you don't want them, don't have them. But I don't think we should just say no more, because some communities are willing to say, you know what, there's a balance between privacy and safety. And we're not looking at you on the flock camera. We don't care about you on the flock camera. But if someone commits a crime and we have their license plate of their car, then yes, we're going to go to flock camera. By the way, that's the way it works in every case, is they're not looking at your license plate or my license plate. They only get access to flock when the license plate is involved in a crime. And then they say, let's go to flock and see if they can find it. It's not an active monitoring of following Americans around. It's a recorded system where they go back and are able to then go back through the records to trace where the license plate is coming up. And they only do it for crimes. And Flock built an audit system so that local governments can go see who is using the system in the local police department. And if it's not tied to a license plate that's come up in a crime, it's the flag that people's privacy has been violated. I didn't know that until I started looking into it. I really did assume that there's active monitoring or can be active monitoring, and there can't be. And I really did assume that any police officer who's just curious can pull up a license plate. And they can do that, but it trips an audit flag that it's happening because it hasn't been tied to a crime. And the police officer should get fired. The police officer should go to jail. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And that misinformation, when you get rid of it, it's never going to placate everybody. It's never going to placate everybody. There will always be civil liberty concerns that people just don't like the fact that someone has set up cameras. You know what the police did before the flock cameras, though? They got the surveillance cameras of the local liquor store and the local fast food restaurant and the local grocery store and the local five and dime, and they did the same thing. Instead of going to one company that had access to it, though, they had to go to 5 or 10, but they were still able to accomplish the purpose. This just makes it faster to solve the crime and get to the criminal and rescue the person with dementia. They're still going to have the resources to track you based on private companies' surveillance footage, many of whom handed over voluntarily. The local bank, the local gas station, the local fast food restaurant, all the cameras facing out into the parking lots in the streets, they already had that. Now there's one company that puts these cameras up for license plate readers, and they only get it if there's a crime tied to a license plate. That's not going to placate everybody. And I'm not fully in defense of Flock. I suspect there should be more restrictions. But when I hear a police chief say multiple children have been saved unharmed who were kidnapped, multiple people with dementia have been recovered, and dozens of crimes have been solved, murderers found and taken off the streets, and armed robbers stopped from other armed robberies, all because of a private company that you can go to and say, here's this license plate, can we get this from you? And they say, yes, here's where the car is located. What's the balance? I don't think the balance is all civil. I don't think the balance is all in Flock's favor, but I don't think the balance is all in civil liberty's favor as well. there is something about a right to privacy, but there is also something about the right to be safe. And I think we probably have to figure out the best way to balance that. And maybe we're doing it right now and people just don't realize it.
Running a business, if you're a small businessman, it means you've always got to be reachable until you're not. The moment you miss a call, the text, the follow-up, a competitor could pick up on it. That's why I want to bring you up to speed on Quo, Q-U-O, the business phone system. It's built so you never miss an opportunity. Quo is the business phone system. You're never going to miss a call. You're never going to miss a text message. And, you know, as a guy who runs a small business, I know how available you got to be. Quo's the number one rated business phone system on G2. It's trusted by over 90,000 businesses. They rely on it to stay reachable and look professional every day. And it sets up in minutes on any device. You can keep your existing number. You can add teammates as you grow. There's no IT. There's no hassle. It's got an AI agent that even integrates with Claude, no less, and Zapier and HubSpot and more. Money's on the line. Always say hello with Quo, Q-U-O. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K. That's quo.com/Eric.
Hello, it is Eric Erickson here. As you can imagine, people want to talk about the flock cameras. I do have to read you an email I got from Dennis down listening on WDBO. He says, it's funny, cops should wear body cameras, the left said. And then the cameras revealed most of the cops were doing a great job, and often the others were criminal dirtbags. And so now the left doesn't want the cops to wear the cameras. And now suddenly we're using flock cameras to track down the bad guys, and the left wants to get rid of the cameras. I get the civil liberty concerns. I do. That's why I'm still a little bit concerned about flock. But I certainly don't think we should be listening to the people who want to get rid of police and prisons on getting rid of the flock cameras. There are concerns. Let me go to the phones here. Linda calling from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Welcome. How are you?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Listen to you almost every day.
Thank you.
Two comments really quickly. Number one, when you touched on the incogni, it's like the data brokers. That should be against the law completely. They just, you should not have all your profile put online at all for it to have identity theft, recreate a profile of you online, and that's just anybody. It's maddening, an invasion of privacy beyond belief. Okay, that set aside, thank you for incogni. I am for the flock. Our cell phones track us everywhere we go anyway. You link it up to your vehicle, it's a double track. So anyone that wants to find you can ping your cell phone and track it between cell phone stations, and they can pretty much find you. But the flock is a speed-up process that is much appreciated. If you or your family is in a crime or in danger, you want the quickest response you can get from law enforcement, and that just enables them to do that. Yes, I'm an avid proponent of privacy, but there seems to be more in-place applications for that to be eliminated by the policing themselves, the audits, etc. But it does far more good than bad. Do I like being followed? Do I being tagged everywhere? Not really, because I'm a private person. But when it solves crimes and protects people more than it harms people, then I'm all about that. And if the Democrats get control, the Socialist, the Democratic Party gets control, they will probably mandate a chip in everybo's forehead to know where we are.
Yeah, they probably will. They certainly don't care about our privacy. Listen, that's well said on all fronts. Thank you very much for that. It is very well said. I got concerns, but I also think I see legitimate reason for them. Look, I see legitimate reasons in today's economy for you to consider ways to get out of credit card debt. It's still spiking. There are $14 trillion now in credit card debt in this country, and interest rate averages about 25% on those cards. With mortgage rates in the fives right now, if you've got great equity in your house, you might want to talk to American Financing about leveraging your equity to be able to pay off your credit cards. They've got salary-based mortgage consultants, and their customers are saving about $800 a month wiping out high-interest debt, and that money stays in your pocket to fight back against rising costs. There are no upfront fees. There's no pressure. If you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing today at 866-886-9262. That's 866-886-9262 or AmericanFinancing.net/Eric.
NMLS number 182334. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR for rates in the 5 start at 6.327% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 866-886-9262 for details about credit costs and terms. Visit AmericanFinancing.net/Eric. Average savings based on borrowers who save over $199.
Y'all, Look, I want to take your phone calls, but I got to tell you, there is. I'm trying to keep my eyes from rolling out of my head. There is breaking news. President Trump has told the press that Iran has privately agreed to a deal to open the Strait of Hormuz, but just will not admit it publicly. Okay. Sure. Okay. Let me go to your phone calls. Andrew, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Eric, long-time listener here. I was going to mention that like 3 years ago, my wife was 9 months pregnant. She got out of her minivan here in Forsyth County, and a teenager stole her minivan. And we didn't realize it till the next morning. So we called Forsyth County, and they put it into the flock system, and within 30 seconds, he found the vehicle in Decatur.
Wow.
Yeah, he even could tell where all it had been in Atlanta. Like he was like, I've got it at Georgia Tech at 1 a.m. I got it on North Avenue at 1:15. It was wild.
So, okay. So, Andrew, I'm confused. For those of you out of the state of Georgia, how is it possible that there was crime in Forsyth County? I was informed reliably that there is no crime in Forsyth County.
You'd be wrong, man. It's everywhere.
You know what it is? It's all those people who came up out of Fulton County, and they needed to get to Forsyth. They got confused. They were headed down to Forsyth, Georgia, and instead they wound up in the county.
This was a teenager that had a ankle bracelet on, delivering appliances. He wasn't even supposed to be here.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Ankle bracelet teenager. This kid is in for a life of crime. Good. Well, I'm glad. So now, was the minivan in good condition when they got it back?
Yeah.
Wow.
They found it in DeKalb County, and we had to go get it, and I got it back. And I mean, it was wild. It was gone for 24 hours.
That's insane. And he hadn't had a chance to like sell the tires and stuff. That's clearly. I mean, this kid's going to be a failed criminal.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So what we've learned from your story, Andrew, is that there is crime in Forsyth County. There are just no chop shops in Forsyth County.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for the phone call, y'all. Okay, so Forsyth County is north of Atlanta. It's one of the wealthiest counties in America, as I understand it. One of the wealthiest counties in Georgia, for sure. It used to be like Lily-White County, like the number of non-white people back in the day who lived in the county was like less than 25. That's not the case anymore. The county there's been explosive growth. And the county that used to be like the most staunchly Republican county in the state of Georgia is because of the explosive growth, not as Republican as well. It's still pretty Republican. It's also gorgeous up there. It's a great place. But the weird thing about Forsyth County is like it's one giant suburb. It's like there's no real like center, and they've tried to I just feel like you get up to Cumming, Georgia, which is the county seat there. It's all kind of all spread out. It's one giant strip mall. But I mean, it's beautiful. It's a great place. I am today years old learning that there's crime in Forsyth County. I did not believe it existed there. By the way, a buddy of mine who was in law enforcement is texting me saying that just so you understand that to use the flock camera, you've got to have a case number and a reason to search for a particular vehicle in tag. Plus, the Supreme Court has ruled there's no expectation of privacy on a public roadway. So keep that in mind. All right, Bart, you are up next. Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, hey there. One of the most unnerving things that happened to me was visiting Shanghai, China, and having cameras all over the place. And I related to that is kind of how you react when you are on the interstate or something and you're going by a police car in the right lane, how your behavior changes. And it was just an unnerving feeling.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with you, but I will tell you, I have the same concerns about police state. You go to Great Britain, it's the same thing. There are cameras everywhere, and in certain northern cities in the country, there are cameras everywhere. And I really do have concerns about privacy. At the same time, Bart, I don't know if you've ever seen the stories, the Washington Post and the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, they've all had these stories about how reporters were able to buy cell phone data from the cell phone companies, and they were able to track President Trump all over South Florida. Based on a cell phone signal connecting to cell phone towers. So they could figure out who was a Secret Service agent based on where their cell phones traveled. We've already got it. The police. Look at what happened on January 6th in 2021. The FBI didn't go to Flock to get security cameras and license plate readers. They went to the cell phone companies and they said, we want the cell phones of every single person who was in this perimeter on January 6th. And that's how they found all the people who had gone into the Capitol, because people were carrying their cell phones with them. I mean, and that data they're allowed to get. So to the extent that you're concerned about this, or Brian, who emailed from down in Jacksonville, the police don't necessarily need the flock cameras per se. It makes it faster to find a criminal. But they've already got the surveillance. So you're worried about the flock cameras surveilling you. You drive past a local McDonald's that has a camera pointed out from the parking lot to the street every single day that the police can get access to. You drive past a gas station that has the same thing. You drive past a bank that has the same thing. You drive past a grocery store that has the same thing. You drive past a school that has the same thing. And then you also have your cell phones. So what the police do is they go to the cell phone company and they say, we want all the people who passed by this area at this time of day in this 20-minute period, and we want all the cell phones. And then they go to the gas station and the grocery store and the bank and the 3 fast food locations, and they get the security footage for that time of day. And they start layering it over. There's their list of suspects. And then they narrow down the suspects. And it takes them 2 to 3 weeks to narrow down the list of suspects. With Flock, they go and they say, we're looking for this license plate. Boom, there it is. Took 30 seconds as opposed to 3 weeks. Or we want the license plates that pass through this area for this time of day. Boom, they get the license plates. So then what they do with the license plates is then they take the cell phone footage. Okay, there was a robbery at the local grocery store. So we've got all these license plates. We know this is where the car went. Now let's take all the cell phone information. Now let's see, can we layer the cell phone ownership over someone who has one of these license plates? Oh, there's one person. There's one person. Their cell phone shows that they were at the grocery store during the robbery, and they're tied to a license plate, and it's the only license plate that passed this camera in the last 30 minutes, having come from that direction. This has got to be our guy. Suddenly they got their guy. And what do? I mean, if the flock camera didn't exist, they're still getting the cell phone data. If the flock camera didn't exist, they're going to the McDonald's and the Burger King that are always next to each other. They're going to the BP and the Marathon and the Exxon stations that are passed. They're going to the Kroger and the Publix, and they're going to the Bank of America and the name the other bank. And they're getting all that information and they're layering it over, and it's going to take them 3 to 4 weeks as opposed to 30 seconds. But now think about what they have. Instead of just someone's license plate, they've got everybody's cell phone numbers. They've got their routes from their cell phone information. They've got many more people who are taken. The net is fuller. The Supreme Court ruled that you don't have a right to privacy while driving on a public highway. So if you're out on a public highway right now, you have no right of privacy. That's the law in the United States, whether we like it or not. And I feel compelled to say again, I do have privacy concerns. I did not know until this week when I started talking about the topic that you actually have to have a case file number and a reason to get the license plate before you access Flock. And if you access Flock without that information, it trips an audit that the system is being abused. I didn't know that, and I'm reassured by that. But all it does is it's speeding up finding things. The case scenario that I find it to be most useful is the kidnapped kid and the dementia patient. I have known far too many people with dementia who still drive, get in their car, and get lost and can't be found. That story is a recurring story. And with these cameras, it makes it real easy to find the people. So am I a defender of the flock cameras? I used to not be. And I am more of one than I was, and I still have a lot of concerns. And I still think that local police and local elected officials who are going down the route, boy, you need to have conversations with your citizens. Boy, do you need to educate the community on what can and cannot be done. And boy, do you need community input. But I also think for those of you who are really skeptical of them, that you should consider the safety, civil liberty balance. And remember that the biggest advocates for getting rid of flock, in fact, the ones who say it is their legislative priority, is literally, not making this up, the Democratic Socialists of America and the Communist Party USA. Those two groups are the ones who have come out most vocally against flock. Why? Because it has nothing to do with your privacy. They don't care about your privacy. They care about criminals. They care about criminals. Do you really think if the communists get in, they really care about your right of privacy? Look at China, look at Russia, look at Cuba, look at North Korea. They don't care about your privacy at all. But they believe the criminal element are on their side. Now, I gotta pivot because I gotta play this ad. This is a very slick, well-produced ad from Zoran Mandami about Amazon abuses in New York City. And I want you to listen to this ad before I tell you what's actually going on here. Again, it's very well produced. They're tossing a box from each other.
Special delivery. If it looks like an Amazon delivery.
And it drives like an Amazon delivery.
Then it's an Amazon delivery.
Amazon is spending millions of dollars to convince you that this isn't an Amazon delivery. But all you have to do is see for yourself.
My uniform says Amazon.
If I don't wear this Amazon branded vest, disciplinary action will be taken against us. The workers' routes and hours are set by Amazon.
So why isn't Amazon responsible for these vans?
Because Amazon and other corporations have built a vast network of subcontractors
that shield them from responsibility. Amazon tells these subcontractors where to drive,
who to hire, and what hours to work.
I do all the work that makes Amazon all the money.
This is why I'm proud to support the Delivery Protection Act, sponsored by Councilmember Tiffany Kalani. Because if Amazon is delivering your packages, they should follow the same rules of every other delivery.
When injuries and worker accidents skyrocket,
Amazon says they have nothing to do with it.
They can't have it both ways.
Now, the ad goes on. Notice how Zoran Mandami loses his accent when he's talking to New Yorkers, by the way. These are called small businesses, what he's calling subcontractors. Amazon in cities around America has started an entire new industry where a small business can start a local delivery service and it'll deliver the packages for Amazon. And yep, they subcontract with Amazon, and part of it is because of Amazon liability. Amazon limits its liability if there's a wreck, the whole company can't get sued. The local small business that's in charge of the employees gets sued. What Zoran Mandami is actually saying is he wants to put these small businesses out of business. He doesn't like the fact that Amazon can use small businesses around the country to help them do their business. By the way, Amazon doesn't manufacture anything that it delivers to you. It uses other companies to manufacture those things. Do we sue Amazon as well if you get a defective product? If you buy something from a company but you bought it through Amazon, do we sue Amazon or do we sue the company? Is that next? Are we going to drive up the cost of people? Amazon has made it extremely reasonably cheap to get toilet paper delivered to your house the same day or the next day so that you don't have to go see people in the grocery store who are paying with checks and counting coupons and holding you up in the line. It just comes to your door. Should we destroy all of that because Zoran Mandami thinks that they're playing loose with rules because they've created an army of small businesses to help them? This is about the destruction of small business. This isn't about workers' rights. It's about the destruction of a small business. Small businesses around the country have been created because of Amazon, and Mandami and the socialists want to put them out of business because they don't pay as much as they think Amazon should pay because it's $1 trillion company, and they think that their workers should be paid more. Again, it's all about the politics of envy. Thou shalt not covet, says Scripture, and the socialists are like, we are all about coveting. And that's their entire reason for being, is to make covetousness the law of the land. Now, If you came to my house and you saw my son's computer from Vision Computer, you would covet his computer because it's a brilliant computer. It is. We sat down with them, spent 10 minutes. My son told them what they wanted. They asked him, at the time he's 15, wants to go to college, wants to be an architect. They're like, we should build you something that's going to last you and that is easily upgradable when you take it to college. And that's what we got. And the tech support came with it. In 15 seconds or less, if he's got a problem, he picks up the phone, they answer the phone, they take care of him. Vision Computers, you can call them at 404-COMPUTER or go to visioncomputers.com, and it doesn't matter where you are nationwide. Vision Computers will help you build a computer. If you just want their tech support, you can get that, and it's brilliant. In 15 seconds or less, an actual human being, not an AI chatbot, gets on the phone with you and answers your question. They can even remote into your computer if they need to be able to help find a file or figure out something that's going on with your computer. If you build the computer with them, you get the tech support for free. Your entire company can use Vision Computers' managed IT service to save yourself the six-figure salary on the in-house IT guy. You just use Vision, and every employee gets the number, and in 15 seconds or less, an actual human being answers the phone and takes care of them. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here. You can sign up for the Not Safe for Radio show, texting show to 33777 should you wish. Speaking of all the surveillance and stuff, one of the shows that I really like on Apple TV is called Silo. I read the books. It's about 1,000 people who live, or 10,000 people who live in a silo that goes like 100 some odd stories under the ground. They don't know how long they've been there. They don't know how long they'll be there. Interestingly enough, it actually takes place outside of Atlanta, Georgia. They have no idea, nor have they ever heard of Atlanta, Georgia in the silo. They've been in there, it turns out, for hundreds of years. And it is a compelling show, but one of the things is it's also a police surveillance state. Like, there are cameras behind every mirror, hidden cameras in the halls. The people who run the silo see everything. It is a very dystopian. It is a great show. It's one of those Apple TV shows, though. That and Slow Horses, two of my favorite shows. New episodes come out on Friday. It's great, but it is the dystopian police state everybody's concerned about. And I totally get the civil liberties concerns about the flock cameras, because you go to China, you go to the Scotland, they are massive police states. So you go to portions of New York City now, they're massive police states. And the trade-off is, if you're not a law-breaking citizen, we do in this country have constitutional rights that do protect our privacy generally. And so you're not going to be abused if you don't break the law. And your privacy doesn't exist on the highway in America, according to the Supreme Court anyway. So there are balances there. There actually are, whether you want to believe it or not, there are balances. There's a balance in good night's sleep as well. You got to have the great mattress. You got to have the great pillow. What about the great sheet? You can get a great sheet from Cozy Earth. They are premium quality sheets. They're bamboo. They're not cotton. They are super lightweight, super durable. They come with a 10-year warranty. Even they have a 100-night sleep trial. That's how confident Cozy Earth is that you're going to love the sheets, is they'll send them to you and you can sleep on them for 100 nights to decide whether or not you like them. And then if you do like them and keep them, they got a 10-year warranty, and you can get them and get an amazing savings at CozyEarth.com and use Eric as your discount code at checkout. You get a fantastic discount. They are premium sheets. They are lightweight sheets. They are bamboo sheets. And you sleep cooler at night. You sleep better. I got like 4.5 hours of sleep last night. My hotel room was so hot. I wish I had my Cozy Earth sheets and my mattress topper. I didn't. You can get great night sleep with Cozy Earth sheets. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use code Eric at checkout. Get a great discount on your Cozy Earth sheets.